Hi guys, welcome to Distilled Living with Thelma Zella, where we talk about real life with practical insights so we can level up. Let's jump in. Today's episode is called What's Your Handicap? What's your handicap? I'm not talking about this from a golfing perspective. So for all you golf fans out there, I'm actually looking at it from a very different angle. I'm looking at it from a perspective of what's stopping you from achieving the progress or the success that you actually want to achieve in your own life. See, this stuff is so real. We all kind of face different challenges that can actually stop us from achieving our goals. Sometimes it looks a little bit different from person to person, but I believe there's some common ones that we all kind of face. And today on this episode, I want us to shed a bit of light on some of these things that could be hindering us from actually maximizing our potential. So let's jump in. Coming in at number 1, doubt. Yes, doubt. There's a famous quote that I love, and it's by a lady called Susie Kassem, and she says, "Doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will." Doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will. You know, when I first heard that, it was like a freight train just collided with me. A freight train of truth, just collided with me because I could relate to that. Because over the years, I've battled with self-doubt. And I have improved over the years, but it's been something that I'm very aware of. And I know what it means to kind of second guess myself, either overanalyzing things and leading to that famous analysis paralysis, if you've ever heard of that. And because of that, sometimes my decision-making can become delayed because I'm trying to, analyze every angle, but essentially it's because of self-doubt. And I can go on and on and on and on about the effects of doubt. And if that's something that you've struggled with, you can totally relate to that. I often say to people that, doubt is like taking 2 steps forward and then taking another 2 steps backwards, only to kind of find yourself in the same place. You never go anywhere. And it's so frustrating. And sometimes I also liken it to, being on a ship, and you're sailing out there, on this great adventure. And all of a sudden, you start to doubt whether or not you're going in the right direction. Is this what you should be doing? What if it doesn't work? And then when that happens, it's like your ship starts to take in water and you start to sink. And that's why when people say that doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will, it's so true, because with doubt, you never get started. You just kind of stay in that same place, or you're going round and round and round the same mountain. Have you ever encountered doubt? Has it ever been that handicap that has stood in your way to hinder you from achieving the life that you want to? What have you done to overcome that doubt? What are some of the things that you have implemented to help you with that? Well, for me, one of the things that has helped me over the years is once I make a decision, I just make one decision and it's done. I don't have to second guess that decision. It is what it is, come what may. That's the decision I'm going for. And that's kind of helped me because it's made my decision-making a bit quicker. And I've also learned to trust myself as well. To trust that the choices I'm making, after I've consulted people, I've done my due diligence, and I've done everything that I need to do, that this is the best choice for me. And I go for it. I shoot my shot. Instead of waiting at that, waiting at the start line, just trying to figure out, should I do it? Should I not? Should I do it? Should I not? No, just do it. Just do it. I have a friend of mine who always says to me, using that Nike slogan, just do it. When it comes to me, she always says to me, Thelma, just do it. Nike it, Thelma. And it's helped me over the years, to be able to overcome that doubt. And you'll be so amazed at the possibility that awaits you when you can push past your doubt. So that's the first one. And it's common to a lot of people. The second handicap I want to look at is, it's a big one. I didn't start off with it, but it's a big one. Coming in at number 2, it's fear. Yes, fear. I'm talking about the kind of fear that stands between you and the life you want to live. See, the problem with fear that I've found over the years is that it kind of masquerades itself as caution, right? Offering you that false sense of, security whilst it keeps you caged and locks up your potential. And that kind of breeds that frustration because you can be more, you can do more, but you're afraid. You're afraid, right? And you're constantly bombarded with what if scenarios. What if this? What if this goes wrong? What if that happens? What if it doesn't pan out? What if I lose my money? What if it's not a good idea? And then you just go round and round. And for me, when I think about fear, I often use this analogy, once again, like a ship. But this time around, it's like you're sitting at the shore and you're watching other ships sail out on these great adventures, pursuing their dreams, and you're shorebound. And you know that you should be on one of those ships. You know that you should be sailing out there, but you just sit there. You're shorebound. And it's frustrating because you're afraid. Fear is downright tormenting. See, 20 years ago when I started my public speaking, I remember being given this opportunity to speak at my church, which had around 400 people at the time. See, I was so excited. I was also nervous, but, I was eager to do it. And I got on stage and I looked out at the audience and everybody was just staring at me so quietly and waiting for me to say something. From the moment I opened my mouth, I was just an utter mess. Like, I was horrible. I was stumbling over my words, speaking at, supersonic speeds just so that you can get it over and done with and walk off. And at times I was blanking out and I couldn't remember what I wanted to say, just to make the whole experience just a colossal mess, It was horrible, to say the least. I remember getting off the stage and I asked my friend Michael, I said, "Hey, Michael, how do you think it went?" And I remember he looked at me and he had no words. And then I said to him, "Was it that bad?" And he said, "Thelma, it was really bad. It was really bad." And at that moment, at his honesty, I just burst into tears. And I went home. I was so embarrassed. And I remember I vowed to never do it again. I was like, I never want to speak in front of people. I hate this. This is not for me. And I remember just ringing my mom. I was a young girl. I was about 20 years old and I was living overseas. And I remember ringing my mom and I was telling her my ordeal. And I was kind of looking for sympathy and comfort. I remember my mom saying to me, "I'm glad you failed. It's okay. I want you to go back up there and I want you to keep doing it. But I want you to remember to say a prayer and ask God to help you every time you get up to speak in front of people. Don't be afraid, because God is with you." I listened to my mom and, the rest was a history. I never looked back. I kept getting on that stage. I kept speaking. I kept putting my hands up to do more public speaking opportunities. Even though I was afraid, I just kept doing it. And today, even as a public speaker, I still have moments where I feel afraid, depending on, what gig I'm doing. But even when fear kind of rears its ugly head at me to handicap me, I prep, I do my best, I say my prayer, and I make a choice to push past that fear. Sometimes you just have to do things afraid until you're not afraid anymore. You just have to keep showing up until you're not afraid anymore. I want to ask you a question. Has fear handicapped you from living or doing things you want to do? Is it time to face your fears? Is fear the thing that is stopping you from actually achieving the dreams that you have in your heart? I think now is the time. Is it easy? No, it's not easy. It's not easy. But you can do it afraid. Just do it. Find people that can help you, encourage you. Encourage yourself sometimes. But above all, trust God that He's got you, and get up there and do what you got to do. Coming in at number 3. This one is a very common one. We've all encountered it. Doesn't matter who you are, rich, poor, famous, or not famous. It's the one and only failure. Yes, failure. Suppose you push past that doubt and you push past that fear, but you failed. You failed at what you set out to do, right? Perhaps you failed multiple times, and then you concluded that, this is not for me. I was meant to do this. This is for others. Do you know sometimes you can actually fail at doing the thing that you're meant to be doing? You can fail at doing the thing that you're meant to be doing. I have a favorite quote from Thomas Edison, and he said, "Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up." I'm going to say that again. Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up. See, these words of wisdom, they're coming from the man who invented the light bulb, but it took him 1,000 attempts to get it right. To be honest with you, I would have given up after the 10th attempt, and I'd have told people, you know what, we're just going to have to do it with candles, Just be grateful we've got candles. I don't think I would have pushed through. 1,000 attempts? Oh, hell no. 3, maybe? 3? But I think most of us are kind of like that. We wouldn't have pushed through to 1,000 attempts. We give up so quickly when things don't actually pan out the way we would have anticipated it. We hate failure. And I think one of the reasons we hate failure is because we internalize or personalize that failure, and we even go to the extent of equating it to our self-worth. And I've noticed that we've kind of worked out the simple equation in our heads that kind of says failure equals loser. Failure equals loser. But that's the wrong way of perceiving failure. You're not a loser just because what you did failed. And we have to change our perception around failure, because failure is just another opportunity to examine what we missed and what we need to do to adjust or course correct. And if we keep going, we can learn from that and we keep moving forward. See, failure is not to be avoided like a plague, try not to fail, try not to fail. No, you need to be failing at something. In fact, when you're failing, it shows you're trying. I think it was John Maxwell who said, fail early, fail often, but always fail forward. Fail early, fail often, but always fail forward. What does it mean to fail forward? You see, we fail forward when we can learn from our failures and use them to propel us forward. However, if we don't do that, failure can become that handicap in our lives alongside doubt and fear. These three handicaps, doubt, fear, and failure, can stop you from achieving the life you have dreamt of living. They can stop you from achieving your goals, can stop you from achieving your dreams or the call upon your life that God has put on your life. So what are you going to do about that? Are you going to continue letting your life be handicapped by either doubt, fear, or failure? You need to examine these things in your own life. You need to come up with strategies that can help you overcome these things. You have the choice to move past these handicaps so you can maximize your potential. It's your time. The time is now. But you don't want to waste your life wishing you could have, wishing, if only I was a bit brave. Just do it. Do it afraid. Start that business. Execute on that idea you've always had. Do the things that are in your heart. You're drawn to those things anyway. You know what it is that you carry in your heart. And you have a choice. We all have a choice. We have a choice to either move forward, push past that doubt, push past that fear, and push past that failure. It's your time. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this podcast has helped you, and I look forward to talking to you again next time.